And as part of the more detailed research and planning for the coursework, we're going to look at some theory. And we're going to look at some theory from a writer called John Berger, who quite a long time ago in the 1960s, 1970s wrote a book called Ways of Seeing. And although it's quite old, I think it's still quite useful really for helping us understand the concept of particularly the aspirant audience and mainstream magazines. So just to get us going, John Berger uses the word publicity to describe communication, to describe meaning that is created through the media in advertising, and this can be extended to magazines as well. Magazines are sort of like adverts, and very often what magazines do is sell a lifestyle or try to sell a lifestyle to an audience, so they're sometimes known as lifestyle magazines. But how do they do this? How does this actually work? That's what we need to think about. Now, what I'd like you to do is just pause the video here and just spend a few minutes just reading through this little passage and just thinking about what John Berger is saying here about the media. Okay, so hopefully you've read through that and you've thought about some of that. So I'm just going to highlight some of the key words here. So publicity, remember, is about the communication created through the media, through things like advertising and magazines. John Berger says that publicity is always about the future buyer. So it's not about what the person is like now, but it's what they could be like in the future, and that's the key thing with this theory. And in the future, the reader believes that they can be made to be or made to feel glamorous by a product, by really sort of buying into something, by consuming something, by purchasing something. And the idea of being glamorous in the future creates a sort of envy for the audience. So the reader becomes envious of themselves and they're envious of what they might be. They, have this envy of the other thing that they could possibly be, that they aren't now, but they might be. So really, what John Berger is saying is that the media create us to feel sort of dissatisfied about our own lives and unhappy with our own lives, and we're always envious of something else. If we add into that, once we've got this, once we buy into this and we try to buy things, we feel we're going to be judged differently by other people, and this can give us a feeling of happiness. So happiness of being envied is glamour, to bring it all together. Okay, so we can see this sort of here, the future buyer. So why would somebody buy something like Men's Health magazine? It's about the future buyer. So very few men actually look like the man on the front cover with the toned body and muscular body. So they've got to sort of believe that they might become like this. And we look at the magazine and it gives us ideas on how men can sort of achieve a particular sort of weight look like this, such as losing weight or sort of working out. This can offer a glamorous view of the reader. So the reader might look at this and think, oh, that's quite a glamorous view. And also they might think, well, I'm not like that now, but I could be like that, and this creates an envy. So it's an envy of what they could look like in the future. They don't feel good enough about themselves now, and they're envious of what they could look like. And if you achieve that look, and if you look at this magazine, it's trying to give instructions and demonstrate how men can achieve this look. They believe they will gain happiness because they'll be judged differently by others and earn a certain sort of status. So in consumerism terms, buying things, buying into things will enable the achievement of happiness. But of course, it won't, because you buy that magazine, you're not going to look like that. And that's the way it works. We then become unhappy with some other sort of image that we see. Of course, what we can do is look at the this in terms of women's magazines as well. So in terms of this, we've got Vogue magazine, but also any sort of lifestyle magazine or sort of a home decor magazine that we've looked at previously. Okay, so I hope that gives you a bit of an introduction to John Berger.